Glowing tributes have marked the passing of the Speaker of Parliament and former Omoro County Member of Parliament Jacob Oulanyah, whose death was announced on the afternoon of March 20th by President Yoweri Museveni. Oulanyah, a great orator, was 2 months shy of making a year as Speaker of Parliament. He spent most of this period away battling health complications. He had earlier served for 10 years as Deputy Speaker. Before preparations to repatriate his body home had even started, ministers and lawmakers had begun jostling for this coveted position. This conduct jolted President Museveni, who used the occasion to elect the Speaker on Friday, to fire a salvo at the politicians, comparing them to witches. On Tuesday, Oulanyah's body was transferred from the University of Washington Medical Center, where he died, and handed over to Dayspring and Fitch Funeral Home. The funeral home was engaged to undertake the bureaucratic processes, including repatriation of the body. The funeral home, established in 1987, is run by Zen and his son Victor Fitch in Seattle, in the U.S. Pacific Northwest state of Washington. Unlike third world countries like Kenya or developing countries including India, where Ugandan VIPs and government cronies troop for specialized treatment, repatriating bodies from first world countries is laborious, fairly complicated, and an expensive process, one that is best handled through funeral homes and involves a welter of paperwork. The body, according to information gathered by NTV PANORAMA, is expected in the country later next week aboard an Ethiopian Airlines flight. Oulanyah was last month flown 8,790 nautical miles aboard a Uganda Airlines Airbus A330-800 Neo from Kampala to the University of Washington Medical Center in Seattle. The Airbus flew through Iceland in Europe, where it refueled. The hospital in Seattle is ranked among the best in the U.S. for the 6 adult specialties, including cancer, gastroenterology, and gastrointestinal surgery, urology, and orthopedic complications. The Ministry of Health's Medical Board annually recommends more than a dozen VIPs and regime cronies for treatment abroad for such complications. Information and National Guidance Minister Dr. Chris Baryomonsi, speaking during the vigil at the deceased's home on Thursday, said the advanced treatment needed is available in 3 hospitals in the world, in Germany, France, and in Seattle, where it was pioneered. Barely after Oulanyah was flown out, a section of Ugandans held protests outside the hospital in Seattle, contesting a discriminatory medical apartheid that favored high-profile citizens at the expense of other taxpayers who are left to die in Uganda's ailing hospitals. Some of the existing specialized healthcare is offered in private health facilities, way too costly for the ordinary Ugandan and still below standard, say compared to next door Kenya. Specialized doctors who are paid a pittance at government hospitals usually dovetail practice at private facilities where they are paid better wages, while others completely switch to private practice with improved remuneration. Oulanyah was first flown to Dubai for treatment and later returned to the country, where he was routinely treated by specialists at Uganda Cancer Institute.
Order, members. Madam Speaker, I wish to state that the specialized hospital at Lubowa.
His death came 3 years exactly since March 2019, when Parliament hurriedly approved the Ministry of Finance's request for the issuance of promissory notes amounting to $379.7 million, about 1.4 trillion Uganda shillings, as security to the project developer of the International Specialized Hospital of Uganda at Lubowa along Entebbe Road. A promissory note is a financial instrument that contains a written promise by one party to pay another party a specific sum of money either upon demand or at a given future date. In this case, the notes were some form of security for the developer, then a special purpose vehicle of one shadowway company, Finasi, and local construction company, Roko. Their lenders were Afri-Exim Bank, Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank, and APSA as the local agent. Besides the financial security, The government doled out 32 acres of land for the construction, which had several encumbrances.
The first area you got interested in when I came here was that very hospital. I visited it and talked to the developer, I talked to the stakeholders, Ministry of Health, my own ministry here, and the other departments of government. There were delays in the initial stages. First, on the getting the land approvals, where this hospital is located in Lubowa. The land was given to the developer in 2019. They submitted the initial plans and requests and all the other paperwork in 2015.
The much vaunted project, a 264-bed specialized healthcare hospital, officials from Ministry of Finance and Health respectively initially stated would be up and running by June 2021. Once complete, the hospital would offer a wide range of specialties from bone marrow transplants, advanced cardiovascular treatment, highly specialized surgeries, cancer treatment, organ transplant to fertility treatment, among others. In April 2021, Health Minister Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng told the Parliamentary Health Committee the completion date had been revised to September 2022. But in an interview with NTV, the Secretary to the Treasury and Ministry of Finance Permanent Secretary said the completion date has been pushed again.
The new date we are having for getting this hospital is September 2024. We have extended it by 2 years. And I want to say that given the arrangement, for me to be candid with you, we had also weakness as government in the way we were fully taking on this project. It hadn't been fully owned by all stakeholders to play our parts. It's perhaps only the Ministry of Finance and some bit of Ministry of Health working.
Gobi, under whose ministry the hospital project was initially shepherded, until recently when a steering committee led by the Prime Minister was established, explained the delays.
There are three key factors which delayed the project. It was supposed to, by mid this year, we were supposed to have the hospital. But three key factors intervened. The first one was actually the initial delays in approvals. Second is the approvals of other things, the financials and so on, you know. The arrangement for building this hospital was quite new for most of the people. They were not very much used to this model. As soon as the project had started in around 2019, September, we got heavy rains. The site, it required a lot of excavation because of the landscape. Then heavy rains could not allow the civil works to go on for quite a few months, as I've told you. Then again, like almost, you know, fate can be so bad on certain areas. When they had just stabilized January, February, then COVID hits.
The current civil works, according to the project owner's engineer, the Ministry of Health, stands at 25%. For these existing works, the Ministry of Finance has so far issued 7 promissory notes amounting to $120 million. That's about 429 billion Uganda shillings out of the $379 million project cost.
And these promissory notes are issued for civil works or work milestones which have been completed. You complete a certain milestone, we issue the promissory note against that. And the payments for these promissory notes are done once the due date for those promissory notes is follows due. So our role as government is on that. It's a project of promissory notes, and these are issued only for that work which has been done. The obligation of securing the financing for the project itself remains with the developer. So they go, mobilize the money, we promise. Promissory notes is about promising that we shall pay for that, to give the comfort to the financier.
This, as Finasi, the lead developer, according to sources familiar with the matter, is trying to hire a new civil contractor. Finasi, reportedly owned by the powerful Italian investor Enrico Pinetti, who is feared in the corridors of power, months after securing the project site in Lubowa, fell out with Rocco. The dispute was later settled out of court. Finasi then engaged Power China Guizhou Engineering Company Limited as a new contractor in mid-2019. Sources intimated that the owner's engineer, Ministry of Health, did not approve the new contractor for about 5 months. A few months into work, sources further revealed that Finasi got into disagreements with the Chinese company over substandard work, though it had offered a comparatively cheaper price than Rocco. Power China Guizhou Engineering Company Limited was also ejected. By the time of the COVID-19 virus outbreak in March 2020, the project had been beset by cash flow problems as the financiers refused or took long to cash in the promissory notes, as the substandard work was not in sync with the project agreement signed in April 2019.
For clarity, this is not a guarantee. We are not guaranteeing anything, and I want you to make this clear to the public. It's not a loan, not a guarantee. We are purely saying, you give us the works equivalent to the money you want, you're asking for, we issue the promissory notes for them. And that's the arrangement we are using. Now, of course, I would want to say that what we want as Ugandans and the government is the hospital.
With the blessing of the President, the Ministry of Finance and health technocrats defended the financing model for the hospital, not necessarily on its economic viability, but on the basis that government would save millions of dollars spent on treating VIP officials abroad.
So I want to say there are, of course, a number of issues which the intervening variables to make the project get to work, but I want to believe that it's a good idea, it's a good arrangement, because the good thing, it does not put government in such a situation where it guarantees, for example, a project which, or a developer who can't deliver the work and then gets paid. In this case, we only pay you when the work has been done. So in other words, there is no money lost. And for me, as a Secretary of the Treasury, that's the most important thing.
He said that besides the civil works, the developer is doing a lot of related work in the background.
In this specialized hospital, it's not about the building alone. There are a number of things which are ongoing. The training of the people, the specialized personnel who are going to work in this facility, the legal frameworks which are going to manage the hospital, because we don't have them, we didn't have them now. A number of them are being developed. The issue of putting in place the software, in other words, of this kind of a project, because I know in our part of the world, what we call projects or success is when we see things and we can touch them. You need to say a big building. When you don't see that big building, you can't account for other things. But there are a number of other processes which are ongoing, and I want to say that those ones I've been able to observe them ever since I came.
The last published costs of treatment for VIPs abroad between the financial years 2013-2014 and 2015-2016, an estimated 10 billion shillings, excluding cost of flights, upkeep and attendance costs, was spent. The list itself of who is given approval for treatment abroad remains a tightly guarded secret. Earlier on, Government spent 377 billion shillings on treating its top officials abroad every year, which is enough to construct several 10 hospitals of the standard of the private Kampala International Hospital.
I can only assure you one thing, that government has played all what we should be doing to ensure that this hospital is done. And as far as I'm concerned, out of the delays and all of these challenges we've been having, and this hospital has been one of the most controversial projects almost I've seen on the streets. There is a lot of difference between what is on the street out there and what is actually happening. And I would want you really to have Ugandans give us a benefit of doubt, and you get a specialized hospital to treat us.
The University of Washington Medical Center, according to highly placed sources, is yet to send through the final invoice for Oulanyah's treatment. It remains to be seen whether the specialized hospital, when completed, will offer affordable treatment to ordinary Ugandans or will be outpriced and only cater for high-profile figures. To millions of Ugandans who are treated in dysfunctional hospitals or who have to raise money through car wash schemes, this will be yet another form of discriminatory system, replacing a practice of medical apartheid with another discriminatory system.